article. I thought they were going to take it off. It's about the manna from heaven by Steve Cubby. You can find it on Google. If you search for manna from heaven / Jacobism, Artc.source. So I'm gonna start reading this article. Wow, I thought maybe I could switch the. No, I can't. Okay, it's okay. Do it like this. Okay. See? So I'm gonna start reading now. Manna from Heaven by Steve Cubby. It's an article here. There are a great many people who will never consider the use of visionary plants to be a spiritual experience. These people believe that spiritual experience must come directly from Most High, and that the use of visionary plants goes against the teaching of the Bible. Contrary to this notion, the Bible never explicitly prohibits the use of visionary plants or potions. What you will find, however, is curious references to a spiritual food sent down from heaven by Most High Jah called manna. The Bible never tells us exactly what manna was and where it came from, but there are many Old Testament passages which describe its physical qualities and conditions associated with its appearance. The Bible's first reference to manna is in the book of Exodus, as the children of Israel are fleeing from Egypt and following Moses into the wilderness. After 6 weeks of wandering, they began complaining to Moses that they are tired and hungry. What happened next is truly extraordinary. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may provide them whether they will walk in my law or not. 16:4. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, the faces of the wilderness, there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoar frost on the ground. 16:14. And when the children of Israel saw it, they say one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. When I read this passage, I was struck by the fact that manna easily fits the descriptions of psilocybe mushroom. For one thing, magic mushrooms are small and round, and since they sprout so rapidly, they would seem to appear overnight, as if out of the sky. Also, anyone harvesting them would immediately notice that they turned blue, were torn, and had no roots, giving more reason to believe that the mushrooms were of celestial origin. Note that manna does not just fall from heaven, but instead it is described as coming with the frost and dew during the wet seasons. These are the precise weather conditions for the mushrooms to thrive. And finally, manna is described as bread. Okay. Although translations have obscured the intent of this passage, it seems to be a description of how to find and identify manna and distinguish it from other non-psychoactive or possibly lethal mushrooms. Look for the small round things which are like bread, come with rain, and seem to have heavenly bluish coloring. Psilocybe mushrooms also sprout in tiny pinheads, which branch out in all directions and bear resemblance to a hoarfrost. It is also interesting to note that Moses tells the children of Israel that manna comes directly from heaven to test them whether they whether or not they were walking Most High's law. Here is evidence that manna was endowed with unusual spiritual powers like those of magic mushrooms. However, manna does not automatically confer spiritual power, instead it serves as a test. Magic mushroom would provide visionary experiences that would certainly test all who ingested them. Moses also said that the manna, literally the bread of Yahweh, which remarkably similar to the little Aztec name for psilocybe mushroom, flesh of the gods. But how and why did the manna suddenly appear? Again, referring to the Bible, it is clear that the children of Israel had journeyed to a land where there was dew in the morning. As a large nomadic tribe, the Israelites brought a lot of cattle and sheep together in the area. That meant a great deal of manure. The change of climate from the arid lands of Egypt to the dewy climate of the wilderness created an ideal conditions for the propagation and spread of psilocybe mushroom in livestock dung. In Exodus 12:19-20, we find more references to manna. And Moses said, "Let no man live of it till the morning." 16:19. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not to Moses, but some of them left it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. 16:21. Anyone familiar with wild mushrooms knows that they go bad very quickly and shrivel up under the heat of the sun, exactly like manna. It seems curious that Moses recognized the manna instantly when the children of Israel showed it to him. He knew that the manna would spoil if it was not picked and eaten in the morning. But how did Moses know about manna? Perhaps Moses knew about manna because he already encountered the mushroom at the time he saw the burning bush, referring to an earlier period of his life. We find that Moses kept a flock in Jericho, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of Yahweh, even to Horeb, 3:1. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. 3:2. Had Moses eaten the sacred mushroom while camping at the mountain? Here again we can only speculate that the manure from his flock and a change in climate had created a proper environment for the mushroom to fruit. Perhaps Moses ingested the mushrooms purely by accident, or perhaps his father-in-law, who we know was also a priest, had introduced Moses to the mushroom. Archaeological evidence of psychedelic mushroom used in biblical times is well documented by Terence McKenna. So it is reasonable to conclude that Moses could have had some experience with visionary mushrooms. Later in Numbers 11:6-9, manna again is described in terms that are remarkably similar to magic mushrooms. But our soul is right away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes, and the manna was as coriander seed, and had the color thereof of the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it, and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Here we find manna described as before our eyes, having a natural taste like fresh oil. Once again, the Bible mentions that manna appearing in the morning when the dew fell. The Old Testament even tells us what manna looks like. The manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof when psilocybe mushroom are dried, their range of colors virtually identical to dried coriander seed. In both cases, with mushrooms and coriander seed, we see great similarities in texture, color, tones, contrast, and general visual appearance. The children of Yasharala must have given great thought about how to transmit the appearance of manah so as to aid future generations who might encounter it. However, mushrooms were a mystery to the Hebrews, and they were unable to predict where manna could be found. Little did they realize that the manure from the cattle was providing a means for the mushroom to find its way to their mountain campsites. Notice that the manna was ground in mills or beaten in a mortar. That is all because earlier we are told that manna was quite delicate, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. However, if manna was the psilocybe mushroom, then it was probably dried and ground in order to be used for baking. In fact, dried magic mushrooms are quite hard. Grinding or crushing the dried mushroom and then baking with the powder would ensure that the delicate psychoactive molecules retained their highest potency. In the next text, I will just turn off the water. In the next passage, the Bible describes manna as having a light tan color and texture like a wafer. Certainly an accurate description of the color and texture of a dried psilocybe mushroom. We also learn that the taste of manna is no longer that of fresh oil but rather that of honey. According to McKenna's research, honey has long been used in Mexico as a preserved medium for psilocybin containing mushrooms. Perhaps the children of Israel had begun to mix honey with the manna to preserve its potency. We find that Moses announced that manna must be kept for future generations. Yet note that the Mexicans are from the tribe of Issachar. So, you see. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and taste of it was like wafers made with honey. 1631. And Moses said, This is the thing which the Lord commanded, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. 1632. Again, we are told to fill an omer with manna, but how much is an omer? Isaac Asimov, in his book on the Bible, concludes that an omer is about 4 liters, while the King James Version of the Bible estimates an omer to be 6 pints. Psilocybe mushroom are 92% water and only 8% remains when they are dried. Also, fresh mushrooms take up a lot of space due to their shape. So, 4 moderately strong doughs when used for baking. 4 liters of fresh magic mushroom would yield less than 1/10 of a liter, or about 1/4 of a cup of dried powdered manna. This corresponds closely to the amount of magic mushroom required for a moderately strong dose when used for baking. This is important because it clearly shows that not only does manna have similar qualities to magic mushrooms, it also shows that it was also used in the same quantity as mushrooms. So manna matches psilocybe mushroom on both qualitative and quantitative analysis, providing a compelling argument that psilocybe mushrooms are in actuality manna from heaven. Of course, there are those who will remain eternally skeptical, but keep in mind that the description of manna given in the Old Testament bears an exact resemblance to mushrooms. Even if psilocybe mushrooms are not manna, the similarities have indicated mushrooms as possible candidate, and they certainly fit the bill for our spiritual food. Unfortunately, when the children of Israel finally reached the arid land of Canaan, the mysterious manna no longer appeared. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more. The children of Israel must have been deeply disappointed when they ran out of their sacred manna. We can see that they went to great lengths to preserve their knowledge about identifying and using manna. The Old Testament contains detailed information about the color, texture, appearance, and relationship to dew. And the Old Testament even explains how manna is to be ground and then used in baking cakes. If the Israelites thought that manna was a magical event caused by Most High, would they have bothered to know all the details about the identification of manna? What about the manna that Moses said must be put away for future generation? Turning to Hebrews 9, verse 3-4, we find, and after the sacred veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold. Therein was the golden pot that had manna. Here we learn that manna was to be kept in the holiest of all, the Ark of the Covenant. Clearly, manna was something of great spiritual power, since the Hebrews treated it with such reverence and even went to such great length to see that manna be given to future generations. We must also consider that the covenant that the Hebrew people, Israelite people, held with Most High Yahweh, which was celebrated throughout the acts of circumcision. Why was this covenant with Most High associated with the removal of foreskin from infant males? Why not a tattoo, scar, article of clothing or jewelry? Perhaps the answer is that the circumcised penis bears remarkable resemblance to psilocybe mushroom just before the partial veil has broken away from the mushroom caps, and they are at their greatest potency. If the Ark of the Covenant was specifically built to store manna, it is logical was also tied to manna throughout the ritual act of circumcision, which gave each Israelite male his own mushroom-like penis. The discovery of manna was and is psilocybe mushroom is not simply an issue of theological or academic debate. So great was the power conferred by manna that this small band of wandering slaves were able to defeat all enemies who crossed their path, even when confronted by armies that were bigger and better equipped. Jews, Christians, and Muslims can all trace their roots to the children of Israel, who ate manna for 40 years and saw themselves as God's chosen people. Again, we are reminded of McKenna's thesis that those who ate psilocybe mushroom had a survival advantage due to better visual acuity, heightened senses, better hunting skills, and the children of Israel better warrior skills. Manna gave the Hebrews their own covenant with Most High, one that is even recognized today by Christians who believe that the Jews have already earned a special place as the chosen people. Bible scholar Grant Jeffrey explains, the covenant which Most High made with Abraham and the kingdom promises to David, Solomon, and all the prophets will be finally realized in the millennial kingdom. the Lord promises a new covenant with Israel, in which He will give them a new heart, forgiveness of sin, and infilling of the Spirit to the renewed nation. This promised kingdom will provide the fulfillment of all covenant, all the hopes and dreams of the chosen people forever. What is the new covenant? It is the rediscovery of manna. Across the gulf of thousands of years, the Bible transmits an accurate and detailed description of manna, waiting for the time when the message can be decoded and manna can again fulfill its role as a celestial messenger. Manna was the basis of the Israelite covenant with Most High. Indeed, it is this covenant and the use of manna which has set the Israelites apart as their chosen people. The Bible is not the message, it only points the way. Manna is the holy sacrament that provides the means for Most High to prove them whether they will walk in the law or no. If manna is indeed psilocybin mushroom, then this means that the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah were all inspired by psychedelically induced visions. The very foundation upon which these religions rest were derived from the mushroom experience. Moses and the children of Israel used the mushroom as true sacraments to communicate with a higher power, also known as Allah, God, and Yahweh. The discovery that manna is real and is available to us today means that, like children of Israel, we too can use manna to experience the joy, wisdom, and spiritual renewal of the chosen people. Well, that's what the article says. I can change the view of the camera, but this is it, you know. So yeah, here we got the, I'm gonna put the link in the description box below. So that's the article. iTunes. I'm gonna put in the playlist Manna in my new channel Kam Yasharala, and maybe we can debate, or someone else I can make the research and see if it's real or not. I'm open for debates and open to learn new stuff. So, but this was an interesting article, and I'm gonna keep make this research on this, because maybe it's key, you know. But I'm gonna see you to the next time, kings and queens, prince and princesses of Yasharala, inshallah. So till the next time, shalom.